Guys, I've been attending conventions now for about 20 years and I love to go. They're always a lot of fun, but I get a little bit bored with the larger conventions because it all feels like more of the same. So I like to look off the beaten path every once in a while and see what I come across. See what out there is interesting in the niche market convention because there's always going to be something cool, which is one of the things that brought my attention to this particular new convention in their third year that I'd never heard of called Clexacon. Now, Clexacon is the first and largest multi-fandom event from the LGBTQ women and allies. Clexacon brings together thousands of diverse LGBTQ fans and content creators from around the world to celebrate positive representation for LGBTQ women in the media. Now, it's pretty apparent why I probably have never heard of this thing before. I am not an LGBTQ woman, but I'm sure we'd have a lot to discuss. The thing is, this convention, I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea. So the question then becomes, what went wrong? What's the craziness? Well, the craziness is what always happens in these particular communities. When you get a lot of people out there that are especially coming in from the social justice left, this is where problems start to rear their ugly head, and we get into some pretty crazy territories. But the thing is, from what I can tell, they're piggybacking off of legitimate concerns, like a legitimate concern. And one of those here is Clexapocalpyse. What went wrong at Clexacon 2019? Now, I'm not going to go into this whole article here because what this article basically summarizes is that there was an issue with vendors who paid roughly $150 a ticket to go to this event to be set up and to be able to sell their wares and pay their bills and everything else, as these attendees, these vendors tend to do. They got screwed over. There wasn't proper signs. The whole thing wasn't even listed on the app that people could download. There wasn't a map that people could see. And as a result, it did appear that a lot of vendors ultimately failed to make a lot of money from an event that held a couple thousand people. So they were pretty ticked off, which is a very, very, very real thing. And not only that, but Clexacon also got rid of the ability for fans to purchase selfies at autograph tables. And so, but instead brought in their own photo company that they own that then set up the exuberant costs for the photo packages. Those are the two complaints that are both very valid and very, very, very deserving of Clexacon's time. So then the question becomes, what about this right here? This came in yesterday from a woman named Jenny's True Harpy saying, reading the hashtag Clexapocalpyse tag makes me glad I didn't go. I wouldn't want to attend a convention that was disorganized, racist, biphobic, and transphobic. We need a better alternative if CC can't truly be inclusive and not white feminist. Uh-oh. We're coming into that particular part of things. So like I said, the two previous complaints with the vendor hall and the selfie situation, valid concerns. Those are screw ups that ultimately Clexacon has got to answer for. They kind of already answered a little bit in regards to the vendor situation, and they are definitely a for-profit business. Or they at least appear to be a for-profit business, which makes sense on the whole photography situation. There's a lot of money in photography. But when it comes to this, calling it disorganized makes sense. It's true. But saying racist, biphobic, and transphobic, those are some very, very strong, very loaded words. And it all kind of stems from what I can tell is this particular Google Doc, which is a rough list of changes the LGBTQIA asterisks community wants from Clexacon before attending again. So a list of demands from SJWs to a lesbian convention because they didn't feel included enough. And they're blaming white feminism. Remember, that's a problem. If you ever want to see a problem, like ever kind of want to see a breakdown in the dynamic of the inclusion and diversity crowd coming out of feminism, it will always be at the hands of a white feminist. And this document, I'm not kidding you, is 12 pages long. 12 pages long. Now we're not going to go through all of it. We're going to go through a couple key selections of it here. Like this is one of the first ones here, saying all new hire staff positions must be non-cis and or non-white and or disabled. New hires' perspectives and suggestions must be seriously considered in the decision-making process. How many times have we heard that before? How many times have we heard that coming out of colleges and coming out of really left-leaning lists of demands. If I recall correctly, Black Lives Matter Toronto did that to the Pride Parade when they held it hostage back in 2016. Another one here: hire a seasoned hotel convention program coordinator. What? Okay, that's a valid complaint in my opinion. Do not write an accessibility policy without consulting your newly disabled queer hire. That should be on a t-shirt. Newly disabled queer hire. Is this person who's going to like drink bleach and then get the job? Is that what's going to happen here? More than 4 ASL interpreters would be greatly appreciated. Yeah, sure, that's fine, I guess. Free mobility scooters if you visit McDonald's more than 3 times a week. By the way, this particular document does have some trolling happening. But I guess if you visit McDonald's more than 3 times a week, you know, you're guaranteed a rascal. Advertise vendor hall artists alley, be clear and concise. Again, that makes absolutely sense. Force lesbians to buy girl penis art, even if they don't, they are bigots. Check bags and badges for safety. Stop dangerous dildos from entering the event. A third attending celebrity guest must be. This one I believe is not a troll. A third of attending celebrity guests must be POC. Have a limit on number of white cis people. A third of attending celebrity guests must be trans, non-binary, non-cis, ban white people. At least 2 celebrity guests must be of intersecting identities and not primarily described by the categories above, like those who identify as animals. My dog is trans species. She identifies as a cat. She's also a lesbian. She needs her own panel to have fully funded trip for this. I am her therapy human, so I will need my expenses paid too. I mean, look. This whole thing. This is clearly a troll job, and you can see even going back over here what is real and what is fake. But the attitude that you would see coming from those particular posts are clearly real. You would see here all staff hires must be non-cis, non-white, or disabled. Do not write an accessibility policy without consulting your newly disabled queer hire. That's on there. That hasn't been updated. Check badges. A third of attending celebrity guests must be POC. A third of attending celebrity guests must be trans, non-binary, non-cis. At least 2 celebrity guests must be of intersecting identities not primarily described by the categories above. And the thing is, you've no idea. And this is the actual document here. This is what people are looking at. And I don't know if it's being updated right now. It does show me that a couple people are coming in anonymously and looking at it. But they are, I mean, this whole thing is full of this. And there are people on Twitter that are legitimately sharing this and legitimately passing this information around. The way I view it is this. Clexapocalpyse is in a position where they could destroy themselves because of this type of attention, because the actual valid complaints, right? The actual valid complaints about a vendor issue and the photography issue, those are valid complaints and concerns that should be addressed by the company. But if the crazier, more leftist SJW types that come into this are pushing this whole thing about, like, we need better representation in regards to like only hire these people, only hire them because of how they are, how they look, we get into the segregation situation, and that always effectively ends up killing these types of conventions. What they should do, and it's simply this: address the valid concerns, ignore the rest. Don't give into it. Don't apologize. Do what you're going to do and run it. If they want to come back another year, they'll come back another year. But make up for the actual things you can fix. But giving into people's demands, like these kind of crazy ass demands, we've seen it happen before, and all it does is just decimate these types of festivals. Because as weird as it is to say this out loud, the social justice warrior left is as much of a disease as anything else. And we've watched this happen for years. And as supportive as I am of people having their own, conventions and their own thoughts and everything else, I want people to live their best life, so to speak. You also have to be wary of the people out there who don't give a crap about that they do not give a shit about that. What they care about is simply just trying to find a way to complain and get their way, and then they move on to the next thing. Because once they are given an inch, they will legitimately take a continent. And they do this every single time. And I don't know if these are valid actors or if they're bad actors. I have no idea who these people are right now and whether or not they are actively trying to take down this pro LGBTQIA asterisk, I don't know what else, pi event. And it seems like a decent enough thing, a decent enough idea to give representation to lesbian characters in pop culture, and you run the risk of feeding into this beast that is like an all-consuming virus. Once it finishes, it moves on to the next thing. Don't give into it. That's the best advice I can give. Don't give into it. But I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts and opinions on this one. Let me know down in the comments below. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.